Hello. Okay, this video is assuming that you have done your thumbnails for the City and Townscape and you have your prototypes also made, and so this video is about retaining the proportions of your prototype thumbnails and a couple methods as to how to do that. If I've got, let's say this is my prototype, I want this and I want to get it, enlarge it to scale on 14 by 17 paper. One thing I can do is use something like this. It doesn't have to be a clear template. You can do this on the actual drawing if you want, but it's to measure out first of all the height and width of the actual bordered image, and then translate that so it fits as well as it can into a 14 by 17 piece of paper. So this being 5 3/4 by 7 1/4, you blow that up and it is, I think, 11 1/2 by 14 1/2. So that just getting these basic proportions is really the first step, and trying to get that 11 1/2 by 14 1/2 fits fairly nicely on 14 by 17, especially if you center it. If this image down here was my prototype, I would times it by 3 instead of doubling it, and then I would get a this would be 15 1/2. Wait, no, I'm off here. Times 3. My math is off. So this would be 12. This would be 13 1/2 by 9 plus 10 1/8 would be what this would be. Now that's kind of a little bit small, on the small side, but it's doable. So by doing that with this one, what I came up with was something like this, where I've got my basic ratio of the height to width. I also measured out where my horizon line is very carefully and where the vanishing point is. And then I did all of these as well, the convergence lines and also the verticals, a lot of the verticals of the buildings. So for example, these lines here are all some major convergence marks that I'm just taking to the boundary of the image, and then just measuring where they come to. Now once you do that, then if you're going to double it, you're going to need to have some sort. Either you have to double it each time. If you, for instance, if you times it by 2, this would be 2 1/4, not 1 1/8. Or I made this little scale rule where 1 inch equals basically 2 inches, and I just, so it's doubled. If you did one for this one, it would be a tripled. 1 inch would equal 3 inches. And so forth. By getting these like major, like a major building, a major road area, big elements, where the major verticals and convergence lines go to, you can get pretty much in the ballpark of retaining the proportions. Now the problem that happens with these things often is that people do really great thumbnails, and the reason they do that is because they're seeing the whole. They're seeing it as a whole image, and everything's relating it to the other. And then when they go to the larger image, they're starting all over. What they've worked so hard in crafting here, they tend to lose. And the two big reasons are they lose their proportional relationships, and the second reason is that they don't have as good a line quality, line hierarchy sensibility as they do. When you're working small like this, the tip of the pencil has much more impact and is much thicker in relativity to the objects in the image. When you blow it up bigger, people tend to get tense. They tend to get more uptight. And the line tends to get very uniform throughout the whole image, and you don't have the same character and variation in thickness that really helps to bring it to life. So those are the two main things that erode the quality from the prototype to the final image. So this is one method, is just proportional transfer. Another method is to do the grid method, which is where you take this image and grid it. Let's say you gridded it 1-inch squares, horizontally and vertically, and then you did your exact same proportional, doubling with your height to width of the whole thing, and then you did 2-inch squares on this side, on the large one, and then you just follow where these lines fall in the grid. The danger with that one is that you start working square by square as if you're sort of a paint by numbers thing, and that's not what we really want. Another method is to copy the image to scale on a copier, if you can get big enough. Copier. You have to get fairly large so it can fill a 14 by 17 image. What is it? 11 by 17 is. So you'd have to use at least an 11 by 17 size. 11 by whatever, 14, 15, something like that. Copier. And then what you can do is, once you've got the copy, you can turn it over and either put it on a light table or a window with light coming